is de behoefte aan het niet...
Yeah, I think that's on. Hi there, folks, and welcome to Crazy Jack's WWW series. Now, you thought the WWW stood for World Wide Web, but it don't. No, it stands for One Take Words of Wisdom from Crazy Jack. And this here is episode 2. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Okay, folks, in this episode, for you who love homemade battery amplifiers and stuff, I'm going to be talking about this, and this, and this. Okay, here it comes. It's me. Still me. Phew, that's better. Okay, folks, right, now, welcome back to the channel. I've changed the angle, the camera angle today because I want to get in. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my speakers. I'm also going to be talking, the whole point of this episode actually, as I said, some of my videos go on to about 2 hours in length, and while that's great to watch if you want to fall asleep, some people can't be bothered to watch that long, and these days I know shorts are the format of choice. But having said that, if you want to get any value out of, any sort of meaning and value out of something, sometimes you've got to listen a bit longer. Anyway, I'm trying to keep this series down in time, so I'm calling it Crazy Jack's One Take Words of Wisdom. So this is Crazy Jack, Martin Harvey, aka Crazy Jack, Crazy Jack's One Take Words of Wisdom, episode 2. And I'm going to try and do this in one take. I might have to sort of stop it somewhere to change the angle because I've got a couple of things to show you. But anyway, the point of this episode is this. For some time, I've been making Crazy Jack amplifiers, which come in all shapes and sizes. Here's one not quite finished. That's a cabinet with a sloped back front, sort of retro sort of feel. I'm liking that. I've put them inside tuna tins and all sorts. And recently, I don't know whether you guys will know, Aldi were doing a springtime sale of garden things, including this seed box, and I thought, goodness me, with a hinged lid, and I thought, goodness me, that's almost perfect for an amplifier cabinet. So I built this, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's got a 6-inch QTX speaker in there, which I've recently found to be a great little speaker. The standard Crazy Jack amplifier panel in here, and can you see there? It's one of these. Yeah. So anyway, that's a little bit about me and my amplifiers and so on. Oh, here's one. Hi, Llewellyn in Wales. Llewellyn. I made a bass amp for him a long time ago, and this sounds awesome. A couple of little tiny glitches with it, so he's brought it in for repair. But there's one of my bigger ones. Okay, right, I'll put that down over there before I break my fingers. Now, this episode I want to talk a little bit about the kit, not very much, but primarily I'm focusing on this thing. What is it? Yeah, it's a lead. I've got a customer. Hi, Carl. Carl's bought a couple of these kits now, and he's a amplifier maker hobbyist in his spare time, and he really enjoyed putting together his first Crazy Jack kit, which I supplied with spade connectors here. Now, just give you a quick little overview of this. This is an amplifier, a guitar amplifier, based around the LM386 integrated circuit IC chip, as they call it, computer chips. If you've ever wondered what one looks like, where's the camera? Well, there it is. It's that little thing there with 8 legs coming off it. A few capacitors, resistors, and so on. And I've redesigned the circuit. It's a standard sort of LM386 circuit, but I've added a few tweaks myself, and I've recently started etching my own circuit boards. There you go, see Crazy Jack. Look at that. Sorry about the state of my fingers. I do a lot of hard work, grinding and sanding and all sorts. Anyway, soldering doesn't help. So printed circuits now. I'm not sure about this one. I might use a different substrate there, copper clad board. Anyway, rambling again. One take, remember? Okay, so there's the amplifier circuit mounted in a 1.5mm aluminium plate. What do they call it? Powder coated, plated with nice satin black paint, and in this case I've added a little white chicken head knob there. That's down. that's up, that's off, that's on. Very, very simple. You stick your guitar in here, turn it on, choose the volume you want, hey presto. Now all my kits come, at the moment, come wired like this. I'm thinking about doing a version in component form, so you just buy the bag of bits and solder it all together yourself. But at the moment, if you go onto eBay, that's over there, don't know whether you can see that, that's my eBay channel there. You can buy these for a very reasonable price and use it basically to make your own amp. Now, as I said, I've got one, I've made a cabinet here. All I need to do is cut some holes in the top, pop that through, pop in your speaker, and then you, as I was saying, you can connect your speaker either by using these spade connectors. There's the speaker cable, so that comes from the amp to the speaker. I've just coiled it up there because it's, you know, wibbling around all over the place. So you can either clip in there. If you don't want to use those, just snip them off, bare the wires and solder it onto any speaker. I prefer soldered connections all the time, but I know some of my customers want to buy these kits and they don't have a soldering iron, but they want to make an amplifier. So with this option, you just snap those onto your speaker lugs. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The kit comes with a pre-wired battery clip. Again, I've just coiled it up, you know, to stop it wibbling around all over the place. But I leave quite a bit of wire on these, probably about 30 centimeters, so that if your kit amplifier is mounted in the surface of your cabinet, and say it's like, you know, 7 or 8 inches down to your speaker, that wire there is going to reach to your speaker easily. This is going to allow you to mount your battery box. I've got one over here actually. I found it where it is now. There we are. There's a battery box. That's the sort of thing I put in all my amplifiers, so you don't have to take the back off to get the battery. You see, you don't have to take the back off to get the battery. If you're wondering what that's all about, please go and have a look at one of my early videos where Crazy Jack first came on the scene. Right, now, so there we go, starting to ramble. One take, remember. And the thing also comes with an LED like this. If you don't want a blue LED, when you order it, just say, hey Crazy Jack, or CJ as people call me, hey CJ, could you put on a red LED or a green? I think I could do red, green, yellow. I think I may be able to do an amber one. There may be amber ones out there. And I've recently, one customer has just asked, sorry, I can't remember the name offhand, but one customer's just asked for one of my dub face pedals. Dub face looks a bit, this is a Mog face, the Morris Minor version, but I also do VW hubcap fuzz pedals, and he's just ordered one of those with a purple LED, so we'll see how that turns out, because he used to have a purple VW camper van. Nice. Anyway, rambling again. Okay, so there we go. So with the kit, everything's wired up. You don't have to do any soldering, anything like that. Just clip your those 2 spade connectors onto your speaker, make a little hole in your cabinet, stick the LED through, and it comes with a little holder, so that you've got a couple of ways of mounting that LED. You could drill another hole in here and just like loop that under and have it popping out there if you want. It's entirely up to you. The whole thing is designed to make it easy for people to make their own amplifiers. And can I say, those of you in the Cigar Box Guitar community, you want to try this out, because I know, no disrespect to Chicken Bone John, he's selling little amplifiers based around the same chip, LM386 amplifiers. I don't know what they're like, but I've had so many customers come back and say, hey, they love this thing. And in a minute, I'm going to show you what it can do, because I'm going to plug it up to a speaker, and then I'm going to plug it up to a bigger speaker, and then I'm going to plug it up to a bigger speaker, and then I'm going to try something live on air, or live on this video. I'm going to plug it into my VOX speaker. Now I've got a VOX R15 Pathfinder amplifier, and people love those. If you look on the internet, people go, wow, this is a great solid state amplifier, what a sound. And I bought one quite a few years ago and used it for gigging and practicing and so on. It's a lovely amp, but since I've been making my own amplifiers and I haven't been going out touring, you know, I haven't needed to use that. So I use my own Crazy Jack amplifiers for everything now. You know, 9 volts is all you need. Okay, so But I'm going to be using the speaker from that. Now, I've got to say hi to Carl, first of all. Hi, Carl. Carl is a customer who's bought a couple of these, and he's enjoying putting together his own amps. And as with quite a few of my customers, Carl came back to me with a couple of questions. I said, hey, CJ, could I plug the amp into a bigger speaker? And, what do you recommend and that sort of business? And as I said to Carl, I started off making, because it's one take, I started off making my amplifiers. And here's one I made earlier. Yeah, that's a Crazy Jack amplifier. I call this the Tin Man. I sold about half a dozen of these. I've stopped making them for the minute, but if anyone's interested, let me know, because I can happily make you another one. Basically, it's this circuit inside a baked bean tin that I ate the beans myself. Yeah, and it comes with a battery box mounted on the bottom there. This was my prototype, so I cut a hole in there, and altogether it was a bit messy and time consuming. So basically, I've improved that design. That's got a 2-inch speaker. I think the 3-inch version is a little bit bigger and works better, but it's got 2 rubber feet on the bottom there. That 2 pieces of wood, that's your cabinet. And because you've got 3 points of contact with the ground, it's very stable. You can put that anywhere. You can put that in the corner on your work surface if you want. Little cast iron handle on top. These are little beauties. If you're going camping, you just want to take your electric guitar with you, or your banjo, or your uke, or whatever, you want to get one of these. Let me know in the comments if you like that idea, you want to see me do more. In the past, I've also put my Crazy Jack amplifiers inside a tuner tin, yes, including the 9-volt battery and speaker. And again, that's another great option for camping. And what I wanted to show you is one of my very early amplifiers, as they say on Anderson's TV. This is a Cigar Box amplifier with a couple of speakers in there, a 2-inch one and a 1.5 or something. This was one of my first amplifiers, and I wanted to use cigar boxes. They are Cohiba. I'm not sponsored, and I don't endorse smoking or anything like that. But they make great little cabinets. I mean, look at the dovetail. No, not dovetail. Look at the finger joints on that. And this is where my kit originated, as you can see in the prototype. There you go. So I started making them like this, and these had sort of small speakers in there, which was great, and they were surprisingly loud, especially if you're just playing in a bedroom or your room or your office or caravan or whatever. And they're surprisingly loud. But then I got greedy and I wanted more volume. So let's put bigger speakers and tried bigger and bigger speakers, and I realised, basically, to get the most out of this thing, you want a bigger speaker. Yeah. So now I'm making amplifiers, like I say, with this, and the challenge for me is getting the most volume, clarity, and quality of sound out of a smallish box to make it portable. Now, I think for those cigar box guitar players amongst you out there, this would be ideal. It's got a rugged 6-inch speaker. There'll be a speaker grill on top of that, in the front of that, to stop you poking your fingers through. But there's a nice. These are really good speakers, QTX 905s or something. 6-inch 8-ohm speaker in a box. Now the wood in here is fairly, I wouldn't say flimsy, but it's fairly light. Obviously it's like cheap wood they used to produce these things for Aldi. But if you put a speaker like that in this sort of cabinet, you get a load of resonance, and believe me, this thing is loud. I might do a little demo on that on another video. But that's a great little option there. Now, as I said, you can buy the kit and make these amplifiers any size and shape you want, and as you can see, I've put them into all kinds of things. Over here is one I'm working on at the moment. Now this is a lovely, oh god, it's heavy. That's the same QTX speaker. There you go, see that? And I picked up this lovely pallet with loads of oak in it. It's an oak front. I'm pretty sure that's oak sides. And I sold one of these to somebody the other day, and they put a comment on eBay and said, wow, best money I've ever spent. Even better than I thought. So I'm really pleased with that. That's it, sort of reaction I like to hear from customers. I stopped work on this because the wood is so hard, it grabbed the screw and the screw sheared off. That was the screw mounting the grill. So I need to go and drill that out, plug that and fill that. But I'll come to this in a minute. Right, so there's your kit. Now we're on to speakers, okay? Now, on this one, because in what I do, I'm always trying different speakers. I'm always thinking, how would those capacitors, and jiggling around these capacitors, that capacitors changing the resistance, blah blah blah, and feeding it through different speakers and different woods and stuff, because wood matters. Yeah, I'm a believer in tone wood, man. You know, the wood really, really does matter. You know, I'm not going to go into that right now, but imagine making a cabinet out of, say, papier-mâché, and then making one out of oak or birch plywood. They're all going to sound different. Open back, closed back, it all makes a difference, okay? Now, anyway, I won't go into that now, but because I'm always swapping speakers in and out and trying this sort of thing, yeah, it takes me, you know, a minute to solder on the connectors. You can see them in there. It takes me a minute or so to solder on the connectors. That's easy enough to do, but still a little bit of hassle. And sometimes if you get a speaker and you don't want to, you're not sure if you want to buy it or keep it or maybe return it, because some of them are really rubbish. I tell you, some of the ones you buy are rubbish. Others are excellent. This is an excellent one. I made up this little cable here, and I'm not sure if I can get to this. Yeah, I have to undo the screws to take the back off to get to that. But I made up a little cable here using it. It's a bit rusty, so there's an old socket there, just so I can plug in a speaker lead and try that out. Should we try it? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what that sounds like. But before I do that, I want to show you something else. Now, oh God, heavy magnet on there stuck to my projector stand. Now here's our first test speaker. Okay, now this is an impedance, an 8-ohm speaker from China. It was sold as a full range speaker, but I think it's a bit sort of woofy. Dayton Audio, good brand, but this is a little bit woofy for my liking, so I haven't used that yet. I may combine that with something like this old Japanese tweeter here. I can imagine that in an amplifier. Okay, I've been messing around with that. I'm going to do another video on tweeters and capacitors. That's another subject to get into. Anyway, today in this short video, sorry, my carpet was getting all tangled up in my wheels of my chair there. Right, I'm going to plug this one into the amplifier, okay, and try it out. Now, I'm going to start sending out in my amp kits a little note that says, don't worry if it sounds rubbish at first, they always do. Purely because, as you've seen on the internet, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos where people make up a quick little amplifier by soldering the parts together point to point, and you know, then they stick it into a speaker, they put some of those little polystyrene things in it, and it goes boom, 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 and the polystyrene things jump about a bit, and all you can hear is jing, 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 jing. This is just the driver. This is just the thing that vibrates, but to get the sound out of it, you know, that surface there isn't going to make much sound. What the function of a cabinet is to basically, it pretty much amplifies the sound, or let's say it allows all of the vibrations to be turned into sound energy. Okay, so this on its own, just, you know, beating away like that, isn't going to sound good. As soon as you put it into a cabinet, then it sounds a lot better. So if anyone buys my kit and then sticks it into a speaker on their desk and says, oh, well, that's rubbish, you need a cabinet. Okay, right, anyway, without further ado, I'm going to do this live. Okay, I'm going to play this one live, then maybe one or two of the other bigger ones, and then I'm going to plug into my VOX Bulldog speaker on the Pathfinder R15 amp. And Carl, my customer, said to me, hey CJ, I want to try a bigger speaker. I love your amp. I want to try it with a bigger speaker. But before I go out and buy one, I was thinking of just plugging it into my VOX R15 Pathfinder. I said, hey Carl, I've got one of those. Do you know what? Because I like to help out my customers, I said, what I'll do is I'll try it out on mine. Okay, because even though I'm not an electronics expert, I think that even though the VOX speaker might still be connected to the circuitry, I don't think it's going to do it any harm sending an audio signal into that speaker while it's still connected. Electronics guys out there amongst you, if you disagree, let me know in the comments, because I would really love to find out. With my limited electronics knowledge, I don't think it's going to make much difference, but I'm prepared to take that chance to prove to you that, you know, and find out for myself what this thing sounds like through a VOX speaker, the VOX Bulldog speaker that's in the back of the Pathfinder amp. Okay, CJ, you're waffling. Oh yeah, get on with it, man. Okay, right, here we go. So here's the amp. I'm going to put it up here so you can see it. Not that it matters, but it's nice to see, isn't it? Right, I'm going to actually stick that to the top of there with a bit of blue tack, because these things have a tendency to wobble around. Now, when I'm testing on my desktop, I've got all sorts of gadgets and things that I link into to stop things wobbling around. I think you've seen some of those. Now, so I'm going to cut that. Where's my, get some snippers here, clippers, snippers. I'm going to cut that because we're not using that at the moment. Hey, that's the battery clip. That will just enable me to put a battery. Let me see if I can find a half decent battery. Yeah, that one looks, that's probably okay. So, one thing to note, right, the battery I'm just going to put just dangling down there. Now, we're not going to be connecting this to a speaker, okay, but we're going to be using the speaker out socket. Oh yeah, that was the other reason that I wanted to make this video, because Carl asked me, you know, he wanted to buy another kit, but he didn't necessarily want to sort of splash out. He wanted to sort of try the speakers first. So I said, hey, why don't I send you a version with a speaker out socket? So I've wired this one up. This is the first one I've done. I mean, I do this all the time when I make the amps myself, because most of my amps have a speaker socket on. But Carl wanted, said, yeah, I'd like to give that a go. So I've made this one wired up specifically for Carl, and I said I'd try it on my Vox speaker. So I'm going to try it on a couple of these first, and then we'll go from there. Now, how do we do this? I've got the wires all over the place, cables. Now, I'm not sure if some of these work. Some of these I haven't used for a while. Now, we're going to plug in our speaker out. So there's our thing going into our speaker out socket on the amplifier. And we're going to put that in the first instance. Oh dear. No, hang on. I'm going to have to stop the camera, am I? Am I? No, I'm not. No. That's because, as I said to Carl, if you want, I'll send you, for a small fee, one of my speaker test cables. Now, this is something I've just wired up, and this was another reason why I wanted to make the video this morning in one of my quick, it's probably about 20 minutes now, one of my quick videos. And the whole point of this, it was so that I've got a standard, you know, speaker or guitar jack cable there, but I've cut off one end and I've soldered on 2 crocodile clips. Now inside here there's basically it's 2-core wire. There's a central core and the shielding, and I've taken the shielding, soldered up to one of these crocodile clips, and the other one goes to the central positive hot tip thing there. So basically it's just a different version of a speaker cable, but this means, I knew there was a better way of doing this. This means that I can plug this in here. This is all going to come crashing down in a minute, isn't it? See, this is why I wire up my 3-way speaker switch under my desk. Right, so here we go. So this is all upside down. That's on. Okay, there's some volume. Now, I'm going to hook this up to the speaker. It doesn't matter which, see that? It doesn't matter which way around these go. Well, apparently it does if you're a real audiophile. But if you're just playing one, if you've got one, it matters if you've got 2 speakers. It doesn't really matter if you've got one. Now, where can I put this now? Okay, let's put it on. Oh, it's a big magnet. See, it's clipped onto my stand. Now, here's my trusty. Yeah, I should have got this a bit better prepared, shouldn't I? These are good. Big clip. Oh, huge thing. It's for clipping your lead so that it doesn't fry. Now, oh, sorry, I should have got this prepared. I'm going to probably knock everything over. Break my towing. God knows what. Alright, here you go. Put that over there. Now, oi! Come back. So, there we go. Right, thank you for your patience. Nearly there. Right. Now, that's on. Okay. Can you hear that? Not much good, is it? Because it's coming through this. As I said, it's not the great speaker in the first place for this purpose. But it's just like sitting there wibbling around. Wibbling around on the desktop. Not great. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, I don't want to have to take the back off that, so I'm going to, hold on, let's put that on the stand there a second. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the speaker out of here. And that's my special lead there for Carl. So I'm going to take this speaker out from the amplifier. And remember that thing that should still be hanging out the back of here? It's fallen off there. Hold on. Yeah, it's fallen inside. Hold on, here it comes. Oh. Right, I've got to be careful because I'm going to knock everything over in a minute. It's getting warm here. We're on British summertime. Now that's plugged in. Have we got signal? No. What's going on there? So that's plugged into there. That's going in here. That should be working. Why is it not? It's probably come loose in here, I guess. Let me have a look. No, that seems to be okay. Right. Well, I'm going to abandon that one for a minute because I want to keep this short. So I'm going to go straight to the second speaker. This is some random, it's a Pioneer speaker, 6-inch speaker in there. Not signal there. Why is it sounding so rubbish? Here's why it's sounding so rubbish. It's not connected up. Oh no! I'm running out of speakers. Sorry. Right, well anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's cut. Hang on a minute, I've got other things over here. Right. Here we have two little 2-inch speakers in a box specially designed for testing speakers. Yeah, the reason we've got signal is going into this little tweeter thing. That's the only thing wired up there. I think you go in the back of this one. So let's put that. I'm just going to put it precariously on the side here. There. That's better. Got a little bit of volume there. So now it's coming out of here. Okay, that's the same volume. So it's overdriving those speakers because they're only 2-inch little things. They're not meant for that sort of. Anyway, so that's coming through these two tiny little speakers there. The amp's at nearly, I'd probably say 8 out of 10 there. So what I wanted to show you was what it sounds like through the box. So let's skip straight to that, shall we? I know that's what you wanted to hear. Sorry I couldn't plug in these speakers. I do not know what that problem is there. That one should be working. Give me 30 seconds. If I can't figure it out in 30 seconds, we'll abandon it. Let me just turn that around. That looks all to be connected in there. Oh, I've also got, down on the floor there, I've got my big Celestion 10-inch speaker, and I did mention that. So now that's wired up to the, can you see on the desk here, I've got a 3-way switch. That means I can plug in 3 different speakers. If I turn it over this way, it plugs into that big thing you might be able to see down at the back there. That's a 10-inch Celestion. So I've now switched it to that. So we take this cable out of here. That's going to go into the input on my 3. That's a lot more healthy. That's a 10-inch Celestion down on the floor there. Let's see what that sounds like. See? Tiny little amplifier. So there you go, that's a proper guitar speaker. And Carl, you were asking about speakers and what do I recommend and stuff, and I said I bought a pair of these 10-inch Celestion bass speakers. I think it's BA10-80 or something, and that's the one that's down around there in the corner. Right. Okay, so that's this amplifier, Carl, that's the one that's going off to you, going through the Celestion 10-inch speaker. Now, the high point of the show, folks, here we go. I'm going to plug it into my VOX, the Bulldog speaker. Now, that's a smaller speaker, but this VOX is very, very loud. So how does that work? Well, probably because you've got, you know, what is it, 10 watts, 20 watts, 15 of course, 15 watts of power going into the 8-inch speaker, which is a good sturdy speaker, and that can handle it. I'll tell you, when I was practicing, that would shake the house. Anyway, waffling. I should have a little button, shouldn't I? Waffling. Right, now give me a second while I reconfigure things. Oh, that's a heavy weight. I can't even take it off there. Let me just reconfigure things so that I can plug in the VOX speaker. Put Carl's amplifier over here. We don't need that one anymore. Don't need that one. Right, and here's the VOX. Hubcap. Now, I'm going to put this on top of that little speaker and hope I don't knock everything over. Right, so there's the VOX. Now, there's my Pathfinder, R15 whatever, and as you can see inside there's a nice little yellow VOX Bulldog speaker. Is it 8 ohms? It doesn't say. Heavy duty though. Oh, yeah, it doesn't say. It probably does on the label up here. What does that say? Yeah, 8 ohms, 15 watts external speaker. So the amp's giving out 8 ohms. So I'd guess that's probably an 8 ohm speaker. I think it's 8-inch. Doesn't look quite 8 inches to me, but that's probably the nominal size. I'm guessing that's an 8-inch speaker. Right, what you can hear rattling is the foot switch, which I've stored away in there. Right, so there's our VOX speaker, and just to prove to you, see, it's not plugged in. And I'm going to put that here, and what I'm going to do is get my, get the speaker tester cable, and try and get to those lugs. Now, as I said, it doesn't really matter if you're using one speaker, which way round they go, positive or negative. But it does if you're wiring up 2 speakers because of the parallel versus series effect. So I'm grappling around in the dark here. Let's get my torch inside there. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. It would help if I had tiny fingers and I wasn't doing it at a funny angle. Right. I did say to Carl this might be tricky to get to, but oh, come on. Oh no, it was on, it fell off. Sorry about the back of my head, folks. Yes. Right, so now, can we see this? Oh, in there. There we go. We've got those 2 leads hooked up to the 2 lugs on the VOX speaker. Is that okay? No, one's fallen off. One's fallen off. Let me just reconnect that again. Right, that's on. So I'm going to very gently turn that around there. not to disturb the cable. So here we go. Right, there's our cable. Now this is the Crazy Jack amplifier going in here to the speaker out socket. The moment of truth. So where are we? This time needs to go. This is my guitar cable going into here. It's very, very quiet, which is a bit worrying. This guitar cable. Wow, we have signal. So this is now going through the VOX speaker. Okay, Carl and everyone there on YouTube land, you heard it here first. Interesting, loads and loads of treble there. Maybe even overloading the speaker. But there you go. Okay folks, I think that's enough. So there we go, that's your one take words of wisdom to answer the question, Carl. Yeah, it works. A little bit distorted, but I think that's probably because the amplifier is actually overloading that little 8-inch speaker in there. Or maybe it's just the, the harmonic distortion that's actually built into the amplifier. Not sure. As you can hear, the 10-inch Celestion speaker handles it a little bit better than that. Now when I play this amplifier normally, it's perfectly clean through the own amplifier, but then you're putting 15 watts of power through that speaker. Here we're putting 1 watt or less of power, and you're really pushing this tiny little amplifier to its max there, so it's going to distort a bit. What have I done there? Oh yeah. Crazy Jack, over and out. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time, folks. Telecaster man, tell it in my hand. Telecaster man, tell it in my hand. Well, I tried so my baby just don't understand. Telecaster man, Telecaster man.
You'll hear the new tunes. And in the